And welcome to another exciting episode of Exploring Our Secret Past with Michael. And as you can see, Carla is back.
I'm back.
So, we had promised a special guest tonight who unfortunately we are unable to get a hold of. So, we will have to try and arrange that another time. But since we promised to talk about Yorktown Memorial Hospital, Carla and I have both been there, so we will gladly talk about the history of Yorktown and Yorktown Memorial Hospital that we looked up and researched and experiences we had at the location. And we'll just see where the rest of the hour goes.
Yep. Gotta wing it.
So, welcome to Podcast Life. We'll guarantee everything.
All right. So tell us about the history, Mike.
So, I'll talk a little bit about the history of Yorktown, Texas, because I feel like if we're going to talk about a location there, it's kind of good to have a little bit of background of the city it's in. And so, Yorktown, Texas was founded in 1846, 1848, depending on who you ask, by Captain John York, who was a soldier, and he had a co-founder named Charles Eckerd. Now, Charles Eckerd was actually from Losfee, Germany, and was in the mercantile business. So that was pretty interesting to learn. And Captain York, unfortunately, who the namesake of the city for is, died in October 1848 defending his settlement from Indian raids. So you got to remember, this was frontier times. Now, Eckhart hired John A. King to survey a road from a trading post that he was wanting to build in the city to help establish it. And the road was supposed to go from Captain York's property to his property. And in May of 1848, Peter Metz and John Frank built the first house in Yorktown for Charles Eckert. And so the town kind of grew and was big in mercantile and other trading aspects. And then in 1950 is when I believe it's pronounced Felician Sisters of the Roman Catholic Church
Mm-hmm.
established Yorktown Memorial Hospital, which officially opened March 25th, 1951. So, Carla, why don't you share some of what you found about the Sisterhood and Yorktown Memorial Hospital?
Well, you caught me off guard.
That's not easy to do, folks.
No, seriously. You're going to have to fill in the blanks.
Well, let me see. Now you got me off guard.
Oh, this is fun. This is why we have guests.
I know. So apparently, I do not have my sheet of notes about the sisterhood, but from what I remember, it was Sister Mary who was canonized and followed St. Francis of Assisi's order, and they named themselves after St. Felice, I believe it is. And they ran the hospital along with 10 doctors.
Yep.
And what we learned was Yorktown Memorial Hospital is actually built on land donated by Miss Louise Stryber, who was the widow of a former town mayor. and she gave them 10 acres. So that was quite a huge gift to give the town a hospital. And it was a 27-bed facility.
Yeah, that's important to point out is that there's only a 27-bed facility, so it wasn't a hospital that was equipped to do like major surgeries. It was a birthing and labor hospital.
Pretty much.
Yeah. 10 doctors, 9 nuns.
Yes. And the second story was considered the convent level, which housed the living quarters and a chapel for the nuns to pray. And as you mentioned, it was not set up to do major surgeries, long term health care, or critical care.
Right.
Good evening, Penny. Thank you for joining us. Now, the only thing I found of interesting note was there is when it was run as a drug rehab center. I don't know if this was in the 80s or after, but a drug rehab patient got out of the hospital, went across the street to a local feed store, and apparently slapped an employee and went back to the hospital. And so they're saying that he probably wasn't able to get back in, and so he, was locked out. But the interesting thing to note is, from what I read, the reason they bring up this story is the second floor of Yorktown Memorial Hospital is where they say stuff was done to desecrate the living quarters in the convent area. So that's where they get activity. And ironically, I read somewhere that the incident where the employee was slapped at the feed store was on the second floor, and both have sightings of shadow like creatures like dogs that some people are calling demons, but
Oh,
they're saying
black masses that they're
the
talking
black,
about.
right, and that they're both on the second floor. And so I found that kind of interesting that what are the odds of both being on the same floor across the street?
Right.
So now there is a little bit of, I found, discrepancy in the history of the ownership of the Yorktown Memorial Hospital. Hey, Sarah Russell. Hey, Nikki. Hello, Courtney. Did you have a chance to look at the ownership?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah. You're the only other person on the screen.
Well, you're saying hi to everybody. No, while you were talking, I was getting back into the fact checking that so I wasn't no.
So, according to the fact checking site that you had, the reason I say discrepancy is it says the city gave it to James D. Short, and then James D. Short passed away in 95, so it went to the Short Family Trust. And then the Short Family Trust in 1998, it left their hands and went to Herbert Schaefer. But here's the discrepancy. In 2008, it says the Short Family Trust proceeded to give it to
Ross,
Philip M. Ross.
right?
So what happened to Schaefer? Did he give it back to the trust? It's like, wait a minute, if it wasn't in the Short, how did the Short family give it after they already gave it? But then Ross gave it to
No.
the current owner, who I won't mention her name because I'm sure she enjoys her privacy. But uh, Courtney has a question for you, Carla.
Sure. It was great.
Sorry, we're laughing, Courtney, because we had that conversation backstage about that.
But
Yeah.
having to fill in time with my vacation, and I'm like, no, I'm good.
So, how many times have you investigated Yorktown?
Once.
Really?
Really?
Wow, I've done it, I think, 3, maybe 4 times. It's down.
Perfect.
Okay, so the reason we don't go to Yorktown very often, logistics wise, let me explain, is Carla and I are in the DFW area, which is considered north central Texas. Yorktown is down closer to south central Texas.
Yeah.
So it's like a four,
It's a
5 hour
drive.
drive for us just to get there. So that is one of the reasons why we just don't have the opportunity to investigate it as often as other places around here. But one of the interesting things that I noticed was Yorktown Memorial Hospital closed in 1984, 1986, depending on who you ask, because there was a hospital, an actual hospital, built in Cuero, Texas.
Yeah, it was a bigger facility.
So there was no longer a reason to have it, and
Right.
so that was that's one reason why they say it. And another thing that was interesting to learn from the fact checker site was 7 of the 33 years of the hospital's existence
Mm-hmm.
ended with them only having 60% occupancy, which means they never had 27 patients at a time any year.
That's why
So,
the claims of over 2,000 people or 2,000 deaths would almost be mathematically impossible to have
right,
for,
and I even read on one site that they had 500 deaths in 6 years. So
which
that,
is too much.
yeah, there. And one thing that the fact checkers pointed out that I think kind of adds credence to those stories being embellished is any hospital that has that high of a death rate, the CDC would have shut them down immediately. To
For sure.
us, 2033 years seems like a small number, actually, but in actuality, that would mean, if my math is right, that it was over probably 30% of the patients died. So that would mean like 1 in every 10.
Right.
So that's just an impossibility to have.
I think that the fact checkers were saying that it's more, most likely more or less than 100.
Right. And most of them, I read somewhere in an article that the newspapers, if you look up the stories on Yorktown, 90% are of births,
Right.
10% are board meetings, hospital logistics,
Yeah.
promotions, and a few deaths. But the deaths that were reported were deaths that occurred somewhere else, but they were brought to the hospital so the doctors could say, yes, this person is dead.
Yeah. I
So,
I think the fact checkers were also trying to explain too that the caretakers of the building are kind of taking on a liability for the embellishment of the stories that they're putting out there to get people to come in and pay to come in and investigate.
Right.
You know, it's I think it's, of course, you know, if you kept to facts, or if you kept to more than likely what happened at the time, you'd end up probably not getting a whole bunch of people that wanted to go through the building, because it'd be like, well, that doesn't sound like much fun to go investigate.
Yeah. But another thing, though, I think that we had to point out is records like death records and everything
Mhm.
are sealed for 75 years. So there could be a number of deaths that we don't know about because they were never published in a paper. But I don't know if it would make 500 or 2,000. So, there's that. And the interesting thing was they mentioned the blood splatter and the basement at the boiler room.
Right.
And the owners, it was either the owners or the caretakers, did test the blood, and it was positive for human blood.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact checker pointed out that, hey, you're in a boiler room, so chances are somebody may have cut their hand and got blood on the wall. And so that's why there's human blood on the wall. There are no articles about a mass murder or love triangle or any of those. So if we go by, printed word factual statements, then yes, we cannot validate or prove
Yeah.
any of these murders took place. Doesn't mean they didn't. It just means they weren't reported or the records are sealed. And so we won't know for quite a long time because if you think about it, 1951, when they opened their doors, you got to wait 75 years. We're not even close to knowing what happened there yet. So I wouldn't hold my breath, folks, for having the legal system come to help us determine what is the true number of deaths at the hospital, or the claims. Now,
Well, it's
with
like
that,
the claims that the caretaker was talking about was like a double homicide that went on, and that's where the blood spatter came in. But they did the luminol check, and it ended up, there was no reports, no police record, no anything that any type of death occurred that would have caused that type of trauma,
right,
and that it's more likely the maintenance worker that got injured with a sharp tool in the basement. The
right.
blood splatter was. So
Steven says a lot of times we come across cases with the records sealed. Yes, that's true, and it does make looking up claims to validate them or discredit them extremely difficult. So, my rule of thumb when it comes to history like that, where the records are sealed and there's nothing in newspapers, I tend to trust my instincts. So, if I get the feeling like there was something bad that happened here, I'll trust that. And I'm not saying it validates the claims, but you have to trust your instincts when you're investigating as well, because let's be honest, even today we've learned the media doesn't always tell us everything. Some stories get covered up. So There could have been a murder where a kid had a rich dad and or mom, and they paid to have the police wipe the record clean. It's not unheard of, unfortunately, in our system. So that's why I say you got to take everything with a grain of salt and trust your instincts and somewhat trust your equipment, because if you're on a location, say like Yorktown, and you're getting nothing about murder or death, chances are there's not a murder or death that may have taken place, and that's embellished. Where
Yeah.
at the same time, if the equipment is saying death or murder, maybe it was covered up. It could have been a priest or somebody who was visiting committed it, and the church covered it up. They're not, innocent and covering stuff up either.
Yeah. The things that I caught while I was investigating were things like desecration and disrespectful. So it wasn't anything murderous, but I
Right.
get the words that I did pick up. I understand why they'd be said.
Right, because if you look at from when the doors closed, say in 84, 86, or in the 90s or 2013, one thing says it was finally decommissioned. Any one of those, if you take them to current day, that was a vacant building. We all know what happens to vacant buildings.
Right.
Kids break in, adults will break in, they're going to steal stuff out of there.
You got people holding rituals in there.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff is going to go in
Yeah.
there that's not been reported. And so, who's to say that, before the caretakers came in and secured the building, that there weren't kids that were getting together and holding, quote, seances or summonings, thinking they're being cool and don't realize what they're doing and actually did bring something in.
Well, for sure. I think that's the big point right there, is that the things that people may experience when they're investigating are probably, especially of a negative nature, is probably something that got brought in.
Right. And Paula, I do agree that is the scary part.
Yeah, for sure.
And one of the things, though, that too is with that is a lot of the sites that I came across, any of the paranormal activity that anybody was documenting, whether it was embellished or not, all took place in the vacancy time frame. There is no documentation when the hospital was in operational condition of anybody saying they had a spirit or
Right.
a attack of some kind that was supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
But being on the flip side with it being run by the church ain't gonna make that public either if there were spirits. So that's the other catch-22 that we're in, is were there actually cases, but it was pushed down because the church was like, nope, that doesn't really exist, and people would have been treated like mentally unstable and locked away when they were just having a paranormal encounter.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's the fun mystery of, why we do what we do, is to try and figure out what is the embellished versus probable versus possible versus,
Yeah.
oh my God, this has totally been covered up and there's no way you can cover it up anymore.
Yeah. Well, for me, since I've only investigated there once, of course, the caretaker that lets you inside is very descriptive on the things that people have experienced. So even though we didn't want to hear what everybody experienced, he still tells you about it. And you go in there and then you kind of got that seed planted in your head. But I truly believe it's also when you go and investigate, it's the energy you bring to the building and in the rooms that you're in and how you conduct yourself as to the experiences you have.
Right. And before I comment on that, I just want to point out Paula Rodriguez says, we have run into some historical buildings here where that they allow it to be open to the public, but to me is so scary if there is no caretaker to stay on property just because there are those that go and do rituals there, and it's very disturbing.
Yes.
That we totally agree, Paula. So you're
Yeah.
not alone in thinking that that is scary. And you brought up a really interesting thing that I wanted to touch on, Carla, is when we go to places and people tell us the experiences that other investigators have had, I feel like it kind of, like you're saying, plants a seed of, am I really experiencing something paranormal if I don't have those experiences? Does that make my experiences less valid because they're not what was reported previously? And at the same time, going, am I experiencing this because we're alone in a dark space and our mind is sitting there saying, okay, these sounds are what other people have heard, so that's what we're going to make
Yeah.
happen so that we are comfortable in this space.
Yeah. Yeah. I personally, um, like I said, I had a very sad, I was just very sad in there. And I don't know if it was just me picking up on the energy of maybe um, babies that didn't make it or mothers that didn't make it or what the case was, but it just seemed very sad even in the chapel. It was a very somber type feeling for me.
Right. And there is one possibility you left out that could be sad, is if it was a woman who was attacked, brought the child up through the 9 months, and then gave it up for adoption because they couldn't take care of it.
Right.
That's still a trauma and
Oh, for
still a
sure.
scary thing.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess when I say that, it's like I think it was maybe residual energy that I was picking up on just from the nature of what that hospital was about at the time.
Right. And if you think about it, with 10 doctors and 9 nurses, there was one of the websites I was looking at with the history that said, financially speaking, if it wasn't for the nuns being there 24/7 on the grounds, that hospital couldn't have made it to the 80s like it did. It would have been financially ruined decades ago. So, when those nuns are there 24/7 living on the grounds, there's going to be imprints and residual haunts
Mm.
of their daily life. And so,
And they were the last ones to be paid.
right.
The nuns were the last ones to be paid.
And they were paid even less than the worst laborer
Right.
in the town. The lowest paid laborer made more money than the nuns.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the interesting thing, though, was I found it interesting that they had a chapel but there's no record of a priest. Everything all says the sisters lived in their living quarters, prayed in the chapel. It was like a convent, but there's no mention of a priest.
I thought that there was. I can't remember, but I thought there was a name.
Well,
I
if
don't know.
anybody does know the name of the priest that was there, feel free to
Sure.
comment it. We'll put it
Yeah,
up. But
for
yeah,
sure.
like I said, my records, there was never mention of it, which
Yeah.
is another thing. Before I get into that, Shannon says that she's stopping by to show some love for us for a minute. So thank you, Shannon, for
Thank you,
stopping by.
Shannon. Yay.
But one of the claims when I first went to Yorktown, boy, that was like 4 or 5 years ago, was a priest was caught doing something he wasn't supposed to be doing. And so he was locked in the basement near the jail cell as punishment for his crimes. And if there's no mention of the priest, who was in that room next to the jail cell that's so separate from everybody else? Is that the caretaker's room? And everybody assumed it was the priest's quarters. In which case, then you went to the third level, right? Where there's that one single room that has a bathroom attached that kind of goes off to the roof. You can go on the roof. Well, you used to be able to go on the roof, but you can't now. But that could be, I don't know if that was a sitting room for them to contemplate or if that was like a punishment room. So without clarity on what all these rooms are for, that's what becomes a catch for us as investigators is we don't know really what to ask in each room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like I said, when we were told it was the priest down there, we kept saying, is the priest who was locked down here? And if there's no priest on record being at Yorktown,
Yeah.
there's going to be no priest that says, yes, I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if anybody in the audience can can help supply us with the extra information. We'd sure appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. And that's part of the fun, I think, too, of the paranormal investigating is separating the fact from fiction, from myth.
Mhm.
And the reason I say myth is because even the myths have shreds of truth in them.
Sure.
So you can't discount myths. It's just those take a little more finesse to wiggle out what really happened versus the embellishment.
The strangest thing that our team had happen when we went was towards the end or towards the time we were gonna quit because it was so hot. Um, I think it was all of us asking so many questions and trying to find out what the answers were and maybe what really happened, what the truth was, that whatever was there, maybe, I mean, this is just my thought, whatever was there might have just got to the point where it's just like enough already. They didn't want us to be there anymore. It's just like, we're done. You guys need to move on or something. Was the signs we started getting when we all went in the chapel. We had, granted, this was about 2 a.m. There was a bee that came in through the window and went to each one of us. And it was, people are batting it out of the way and stuff like that. But I kept on thinking, well, it's kind of unusual to have a bee be there in the middle of the night buzzing around. And then nobody thought anything of it. It was just, trying to get an insect out of the way. And then there was another one. And then we thought, well, maybe there's a nest outside one of the windows or something. But we couldn't quite figure it out. But now it was starting to irritate people to where it was like, okay, let's get up and let's go. Well, when we walked into the hallway, it sounded like a swarm was coming after us because it sounded like tens of thousands of bees, even though there was only the two that were following us down the hallway to the point where we started to run a little bit. And then it was just one of those where it's just like, I wonder if it's their way of just saying, okay, we're done. Pack your stuff up and move on. But that's how we ended the night. We just couldn't. Every time somebody would walk down one of the hallways or something, that one bee would come after them. So we were done.
And to me, the fun part about that is because I remember you telling me about it the next morning.
Mm-hmm.
You were all about, we had bees, and you remember how I was? I was like, what are you talking about, bees? I've never experienced bees. Where did you get bees? Let alone a swarm of bees.
Yeah. The sound was a swarm. I don't know what it was. I just thought it was pretty timely that we were just getting too hot. We started hearing the stuff, and they were chasing us like out, or the one bee was chasing us out. Like, just go.
Yeah, and to me, that's the cool thing about doing what we do is like you always will hear us say it depends on who is, investigating there with you, what experiences you may have. In the 3 or 4 I was there, never had a bee. You get not one bee, but two bees that start to sound like a swarm of bees. And so to me, that is cool evidence that there is something intellectual there. Because otherwise, everybody would constantly go, yeah, we're having this when we're there. And everybody be like, yeah, we had that. And if there's never a difference, then yeah, it's hard to say it's haunted if everybody's having the exact same experiences in the exact same places.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy.
It is. And Paula, I'm going to bring up your comment in just a second. But when I was one of the investigations there, it knocked out my Ovilus to where I can't use it anymore. It drained it so bad that it won't charge. It'll only play if I have it plugged into a power source. And I had a motion puck that I put on the nurse's station in kind of like the intersection where, they had the wooden countertops and you couldn't walk by them. And across from that, I had a REM pod lantern. And the REM pod lantern would keep going off. And the motion puck would always mark movement, not in the hallway, but in the area to where you were walking in the wood to set it off. You had to be that close to set it off. And there is nobody that can walk in wood that I know of.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, it was just driving me nuts trying to figure out why is it always showing the motion, the exact same angle at the nurse's station. And it didn't dawn on me until thinking about it now with what you were saying and what we were talking about, that this is probably nurses that are going about their daily lives, and that's why it's the same location over and over as the nuns who were the nurses doing their thing. And that's why it's not anywhere else, because that's where they did what they did.
Yeah.
So
Residual. Yeah.
the residual.
Yeah.
So to put your mind at ease, Carla, Paula says, wow, we just had a similar case with a bee in our last investigation. So maybe the bees just like to hang out with the women.
We'll have to do some like research on paranormal and bees and see if there's any interrelated symbolism there.
Yeah, or, we could always ask that of one of our upcoming guests. We have a couple of guests coming up on the shows that might have some interesting input on that.
Yeah.
One in October and one in November. So let's see. We got
So you said that you've been to Yorktown a few times. So did you experience anything negative there at all out of any of the times you've been?
I would say no, on the grounds of I didn't physically interact with anything that made me feel negative. But with that being said, when I was reviewing footage from one of the investigations there in the kids' room, and I don't know why it's always the kids' room where the dolls are that causes so much activity, but there was something in the window when I was looking at my photos that the only way I can describe it is it looked like a gray alien, that they show the little green gray guy.
Oh,
But instead of the big black eyes, it was two red eyes.
really?
And it was in the window looking like it was looking in at me, not, in the room. It looked like it was outside actually looking in.
Were you in the room?
I was actually, I think, in the hallway. This is before they put that netting up,
Yeah.
because I was taking photos of the whole room because I had a strange feeling. It wasn't like a, oh my God, I need to run feeling, or, danger feeling, but something just seemed a little off. And I thought nothing of it until I looked at the photos in review, and I was like, holy crap, what the hell is that? And going, geez, I wish I had known that was there, because I would have been running outside to see what was there, if there was footprints in the ground.
Makes me flash on Amityville with the beady red eyes
Oh, I
looking
know.
in.
And to me, it was funny because, so I'm about to share something about me I've never shared
Oh, let me get my
with
pen.
other investigators or other people. It's like only my parents actually know this story. But when I was in elementary school, living in our house, there was one night I couldn't sleep, and I opened my eyes and looked out the window, and it was like two wolf yellow eyes looking in the window at me.
Really?
And I got up out of bed, hauled my butt to my parents' room to get them, thinking, yellow eyes. If it were human eyes, I'd be okay. But yellow eyes, there's just something about those that it's like something ain't
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And so we went, and when we came back, the eyes were gone, but there was no footprints. I looked the next day of anything, not even like mud on the windowsill. And so I was
Wow.
like, I don't know if I imagine this or what, but I still have that memory. And when saw the two red eyes in the photo,
You
I
flashed
have to admit my first reaction was, thank God they weren't yellow.
So Paula made a comment here about there is a link between bees. Go up one.
Oh, it's the seventh prince of hell. His name is Beelzebub. I don't know that Beelzebub is a bee, though. I don't know. Admittedly, I'm not up to date on my
Insects.
levels of hell. So, and the current princes, who's reigning down there.
Hmm.
And she says, unfortunately, yes. When you research it, shows the connection. Okay.
Oh.
Well, and the interesting thing would be they say that the convent was desecrated there, and so maybe that's why that's happening is
And that's one of the words I kept getting.
was
That's
what?
one of the words I kept getting was desecration and disrespectful.
Right. And so, if you think about it, convents are technically falling under sacred land,
Yeah.
even though we don't actually pay attention to that anymore, because hell, if we did, we wouldn't build on cemeteries, but that's another story for another time. But thank you, Paula, for looking that up for us.
Yeah, very much. I want to do more research on it too, just to find out like maybe they were just trying to get us to move on, leave them in peace.
And I just noticed, Paula, I'm sorry I didn't see this before your comment when I was talking about myths are having some form of truth to them, where you said, yes, they came from somewhere. So that's true.
Yeah.
Oh, she said, we only knew that because our last investigation, his name came up and we had the same issue with the bees. So
Wow.
when we researched his name, a picture of the bee comes up. Yes, definitely, we still are as well. So here's an interesting question, Paula. Did it show up as one bee and then disappear and then another bee and then the sound of the swarm? Or was your experience with the bees completely different than Carla's, sorry. My mind is racing ahead.
It doesn't
Get the
matter.
question
She
out.
probably knew what you meant.
She said, yes, it show as one.
But did it sound like more than one?
The same as Carla's.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
So here's the other question, Paula. Where did this happen? Was it like a sacred building or sacred ground? Kind of like where the Yorktown Memorial Hospital is with the convent chapel and the nuns' living quarters there. She says one bee came, then a second, but when the second came, it was so loud.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see if they were at a location where
Yeah.
the convent was or a
Paula,
church
do you remember the location that you were at when it happened? Was it like a church or?
where religious
Yeah.
deals took place. It's kind of funny to think about that as deals.
Yeah. I just find it interesting that she experienced
Rituals, that's the word I was looking
the
for.
same thing.
She said, actually, that's the scary part. It's not. It's actually Brown Canyon Ranch. We have been trying to research more of it. Um, Paula, where is Brown Canyon Ranch? Because I have honestly not heard of that,
You
and I
should just see
want.
if she wants to come on.
We do have 10 minutes, so if you want to come on,
You can come on
Paula,
and
you
chat with
can.
us.
She says it's not much said about the place. It's isolated a mile from all homes. I
Hmm.
do. Well, then, Paula, if you send me a message, I will send you a link to come on to the show. If you can find me on Facebook, Michael Koff. I believe my picture has Texas Fairgrounds on it to make sure it's the right one. But if you give me that message on Facebook, I will add you to the show and you can share your story. Sierra Vista, Arizona.
Mm.
So, Paula, I'm going to mention that Arizona is heavily Native American land.
Mhm.
So, when tonight, you can come on now if you
Yeah,
want.
you can come on right now and join us. Then at least we can have a conversation and not have to wait for typing.
And with it being Native American land, there is a possibility of it being sacred lands to the Native Americans. So it could be another sacred tie.
Mhm.
So if you
I'm
can,
just I'm just wondering like what prompts a bee to show up? Like if they're two different locations, what would cause a bee to show up? Like I don't know any other way to say it. like it's not that both of us had the experience in a chapel or a church. It was we had different locations or environments, but the same result. And it's just like
right.
what would make that happen?
I know because that is the odds of that happening are completely too random. So
I think she's trying to find it. Isn't there any ways you can just click on her message and bring her in, or is that too high tech? We haven't got there yet.
we can always have you on at another time
Oh, sure.
if you wanted to, but you can come in and kind of
Yeah.
share your part, and your husband can come in on another. So, Paula, there is my Facebook account link. So, if you send a message there, I
Mikey.
will get it. And just got to share, Carla will tell this about me. That's pretty random of me to put my Facebook account out there on social media. I don't normally put that out there for just anybody to look up.
I just think it's fun that you call yourself Mikey. That's going to be my go-to now. Mikey.
So, funny story about that. When I created it way back when, was there was a lady that I worked with, and she would always call me Mikey. And anybody else that would call me Mikey, it's like the hairs in the back of my neck would kind of stand up, and I'd be like, "Oh, you did not just call me that." But when she said it, it was like, "Okay, yeah, it's no big deal." And so It's like I decided, there's so many Michaels in the world. If I'm gonna make it easy to find me, let's just bite the bullet and put Mikey. Hi, Irene.
Hey, Irene.
So Irene is joining us from Japan. So that's pretty cool.
Wow. Is Paula gonna try for tonight or try?
Um, I'm starting to think that if she doesn't do it in like the next minute or two, we may be out of time.
Do we have somebody after us?
Not that I know of, but I don't know what the other network. Oh, there she is.
Yay.
So we'll just go, and if we get in trouble, we'll deal with it later.
If we get cut off, it was nice that everybody joined us.
I don't think it's that we get cut off. I think it's that we prevent
They
them
can't
from
start?
taking. Yeah, because we're blocking the network connection. I would think. I don't know.
That's funny.
I don't really
Is she
know what
joining?
happens. I sent Paula the link. So, Paula,
Okay.
if you click that link, then you'll pop up and you say enter studio, and we can bring you on the show.
She says she's looking now.
She sent me a Facebook message saying,
Okay.
okay, I got the message and I sent you the link. It was actually interesting that it popped up in my main feed. I thought I'd have to go to that back room of Messenger where the.
That up.
Oh, that's because we're actually friends on Facebook. That is so cool.
Oh my God.
Hey, when you have 4,000 some friends,
Right.
you don't always remember what connections you made. Irene, no offense, but I think Carla will agree that if I do this, it may take them longer to come onto the show. We may lose some.
I can't stop laughing.
So for everybody who can't see, there was a request from Irene that I wear something sexy to bring them on the show faster. Yeah, I just don't think that's going to work. I think we might actually lose viewership if I did that.
Well, then we'd be hearing from Steven and all kinds of people, Courtney and
Yeah. So I'm going to check to see if we can run a little bit longer.
Okay.
But Paula, if you she's having issues.
Okay.
So yes, Irene Howard would love that. So Paula, if you click the link and when it comes up, you're gonna click Enter Studio, and then I believe it will have a screen where it shows your picture and that the mic's working. And you just say Enter, and that'll bring you in. So we'll see if we can hold on, and we may actually get a guest tonight.
That would be kind of cool.
I know. We never did say who our surprise guest was, so we could totally say it was Paula.
It's Paula. Surprise! Oh my gosh.
So we're waiting for Paula to come on. Why don't we give a little shout out to who is our next week's show?
OPH?
Oh yeah. Oh, I had to think for a second. I was like, wait, OPH. What are
Hello?
you?
Knock.
That's right. Next week's show, we have Connie and Dan LaFave on from Old Park Hotel. Gonna,
Read what Paula's saying real quick.
she's what?
Says it's having me set up now. It's saying to do a new recording.
Interesting. Paula, I'm not sure what to do because you have the link that let me see. That's just
Irene.
Hey, I've actually done a toga. I
That's
have
safe.
Roman ancestry, so I could totally pull off a toga. Not that you want me to, but I could. So, um, Carla, can you copy and send me the link that I sent you for the show to
Yeah.
Facebook? Well, we're gonna stay a little bit later, and we're gonna try our best to get you on, Paula. Just have a little patience with this. We're still somewhat new, only 8
I
episodes
sent
in.
it to Messenger, your messenger.
Okay, there it is. It just popped up. So let's see. That might actually. So, yeah, that's the exact same link that I sent her. Um, well, I'm wondering if it's because we're already live that the link won't work.
That would be weird.
So,
We can just have her and her husband on, like.
yeah, well, um, Paula, reach out to me on
Try it again.
Messenger, and if you can't get in, and we will try and schedule some time for you to come onto the show with your husband.
I think she's trying to do it again, real quick.
Let's see. So, like we said, we're going to be talking about all things going on in Ballinger next week. So, that ought to be a fun episode. And
yeah,
hanging out with an author of some really cool books.
Mm-hmm.
So, it'll be really cool. And hopefully, Connie will be able to make it. She's got a function that she's got to go to.
Did you read Irene's?
Irene says, if you can bring her on the studio without having her do all that stuff, do you know how to do that, Irene? Because I have not done that before. Let me see.
I thought you were able to, like,
I can show
click
comments,
on them.
but it's not giving me an option to.
Hey, what's the invite down below? Our buttons.
That's the link to come into the show, but it's not working for her. It's the same one. It's the exact same link that we've sent her twice now.
Oh, got it.
And unfortunately, all I can do is star messages and show them,
Yeah.
but it won't let me
Too bad they
bring.
didn't have it to where you can just click on and it gives you options to either bring up their comment or bring them on.
Uh, Irene, that would be really cool of you if you could do that. I am going to post the link in the chat. So if
Oh,
maybe that'll help. But kind of just bear with us, folks. We'll see if this works. And hey, Kristen. But yeah, and going back to Yorktown. Thanks, Irene. Um, One of the things that was interesting was they have a jail cell in the basement, and I've heard reports that the jail cell was added after it was abandoned. So I don't know, the true history of the jail cell down there, but
yeah.
I know there were two investigators in there, and man, the cat balls and I think it was a periscope or Paralight, I think is what it's called, and all kinds of equipment just started going nuts in there. And there were two ladies in there, and there was not a lot of stuff, going on outside that would cause interference. So I'm not sure what caused those, devices to go off. So that's just another thing that's really kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, Irene, I'm going to see if I can find you to send you a message. Let's see. And Steven said we are clear to go longer. So, we'll,
We've already done that. Thanks, Stephen.
it's always good to ask permission afterwards.
Beg for forgiveness
Yep.
later.
So, let me see if I can find Irene real quick to send her a message. There it is. Okay, Irene, I sent you her Facebook link, so you should have it. So if you can help her get on the show, that would be greatly appreciated. Oh, so hold on, Irene. It's Paula says, I'm so sorry. I did finally get in, but now I had to sign in with my Facebook password. Lots of laughs. I'm going to still try to join y'all.
Okay.
I'm with you, Paula. I would be dead lost because I don't even know my Facebook password. I have it somewhere, and I'm sure I could put my hand on it if I needed to, but yeah, that's not something I keep readily handy for these emergencies. But the one thing I will say though, up there she is.
Hi guys.
Yay!
Hello,
Hi, nice to
Paula.
meet you.
Hi, Paula.
I'm so sorry. For
No,
some
you're fine.
reason, I Mikey, correct? Is that what they call you? Could I got that.
That's what his name is today.
That's what Carla calls me. I'll answer to it though.
For some reason, when you had sent me the first time, it would not let me click anything. It was wanting me to create a whole new account. I'm like, this can't be right. So then when you sent it back the second time, it finally let me get in. But I'm going to be honest with you. I have not had to sign into my Facebook in so long. I couldn't remember what my password was. So I had to reset it. I'm thinking, if it's meant to be, this will happen. If not,
Yeah.
then it is what it is.
So, funny thing, Paula, while you were resetting your password,
Yes.
I had announced that I was telling Carla, I have no idea what my password is either.
Yeah.
It's written down somewhere. I just pray I never have to use it.
You know what? Honestly, I was really surprised at how easy it was for me to reset it because I was worried and thinking, oh no, if I ever get locked out of my Facebook, what am I going to do? Because I'm on it so often that I would have been devastated.
Oh, and the worst part is if you reset it on your computer, and if you have it on your cell phone, then your cell phone's gonna block you out.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to redo it there, and anywhere else it's signed in, it's like, man, you got to remember where am I signed in?
Yeah. Well, and it's crazy because my husband's always the tech guy. So usually when I'm having issues, he's always here to be like, what did I do wrong? What do I have to do here? Of course, he's not here right now. And I'm thinking, oh, I got to figure this out.
Well, you can tell him you have reached tech status.
That sounds great. Yeah, I love your guys' show. It's been awesome. So I had to definitely chime in. So I do apologize on some of the things I was chiming in.
No.
Oh no, we appreciate you chiming in, and it helps us out because we do appreciate you enjoying the show, but
Absolutely.
a lot of the show is based on the comments that come in from people, and we take the time to read them and try to incorporate them as much
Yeah.
as we can.
Right.
I mean, and look at what we came up with. We came up with this bee thing, and now I'm so curious.
I know.
And I
Yeah.
couldn't. So, Paul, I couldn't remember exactly what your comment was earlier when you said that the B stood for the seventh something.
It's the seventh prince of hell, basically. I usually don't like saying it in my own home, but I did type it.
Okay.
Well, you didn't say his
it's
full title, so I think you're still okay.
yeah, it's really weird because we got a couple of names on our spirit box, and of course it sounded like, hey, what is this? So as we researched it and brought it up, it actually started to bring in the description of the seventh prince of hell, and then it actually shows pictures of this crazy looking bee. Well, we remember during our investigation, we were outside of the ranch home in the very beginning, and we kept seeing this big bug fly around, and we're like, what the heck is that? And it landed on our little light because there's no electricity in this place. So we looked at it. We thought it was really strange because it was some weird looking bee. And we figured, well, gosh, it's even raining outside. Where's this bee coming from? But we didn't think anything of it. Like you had said before, it's probably just a bee or something that just came around. So we kind of got it off the light when it was time to go in. And then a little bit later in the investigation, we heard this really loud noise that it was like, are those bees or what is that? And another investigator, her name is Pam. She's from another paranormal group. And she was like, what is that? Because it was so loud. And we finally seen it go into another room where my husband was at. And he said, it's that darn bee again. And I'm like, are you sure it's the same bee? And it just kept going towards us and we couldn't get it to go away. Well, we feel bad afterwards because I don't know if we killed it or if it just flew away. I'm not sure. But, it just wouldn't leave us alone.
Yeah.
We didn't think anything of it until after the investigation is usually when we go back to review footage and all that other good stuff that everybody does. And that's when we kind of tied in when this name came up. And then we're like, why is it showing a picture of a bee? So then we looked it up more, and then it started to state My husband knows a little bit better about it because he's wanting to research it a little bit more than myself.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah,
he
there's
says
certain things that I'm like, yeah, it's better left stopping and going, okay, that's
yeah,
enough information.
that's kind of how I feel. But of course, it interests him. He wants to understand a lot of, he wants to understand everything on the paranormal side for sure. So he was more open to research it. And of course, that's when he had come up and he says, well, look, it's actually showing that he represents himself as a bee. So when it showed the pictures that we were reading more about, I'm like, this is crazy. Is it a coincidence or is it involved with the same thing? So we're kind of stuck at knowing what did the whole bee situation and what is the link between what research we found.
So how did you look it up? Because I just quickly grabbed my phone and was like, bees appearing during paranormal investigations. And all I was getting was the meaning of bees and spirituality and new beginnings and rebirth and stuff like that. So
Right. We honestly just looked up his name.
so you got a name first.
Yeah, we've got the name Beelzebub, I believe is how
We'll
you
just call
pronounce
him
it.
B.
Yeah, we'll call it B.
Okay.
So when we brought that up, that's when it started showing pictures and the link of how he represents himself and what he actually represents. So that's how we found the picture of the bee and then the link of the bee between him and the bee. We happened to get his name on our spirit box. So we do have a video that we just finished. Like I said, my husband, I wished he was here. He's the tech guy. He pretty much edits the videos. He puts all the time into putting the captions in if he needs to. And there is a part in our video where you can actually hear his name on the spirit box.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's when we researched, well, what is this name? What does it mean? And then that's when we found the connection of the bee and went back and remembered, well, what about that bee? And then the other bee, was it the same bee or was it a second bee?
So I was just, I don't know whether you had heard, but I know that, I guess what I'm trying to figure out is if both of us experience the same type of phenomena that with this bee thing, but we were in different environments, what makes a bee appear?
Exactly. So
Do
I
you,
was shocked. My mouth dropped when you started to talk about it because
really?
I felt a connection of, wait a minute, how is it that you're describing almost the same thing we just experienced? How is it connected? So the location that we were at, there's really not much on the history of the ranch, or there really isn't. There's a little bit about which families have come and gone, maybe when they purchased it, what they did. There was one incident on the property, early 1900s, that had happened, but there was no other information as far as anything continuing negatively. But it's so isolated out there. So I don't know. Of course, yes, in Arizona, I do agree with you on it's, oh gosh, there's so many things out here. It's crazy. And we're really only about 20 miles from Tombstone.
Oh, wow.
So you're not even by the Superstition Mountains, are you?
You know what? I don't think so. I'm still kind of new to the area. We've only been here for about a year. So we're still kind of going out and seeing the historical buildings. And this place is actually open to the public all day until 10 p.m. at night, but there's no caretaker there. So in my mind, it makes me wonder, what goes on there at night? Are there people going out there doing rituals, bringing in other things?
See,
I wouldn't put him past
that's
it.
what I'm wondering.
But,
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, I wish my husband was here because there's so much he was experiencing that I can't explain. There's something more out there than what I think we realize was out there.
Yeah.
I really do.
Now, what's interesting, Carla and Paula, is Kristen asked in the comments, are you saying bee or beast? Because the closed captioning, every time you say bee, puts beast.
Oh, wow.
So it's automatically,
Is that intentional?
I have to wonder because who it is. It's like, wow,
Oh.
it's like
Yeah,
the closed captioning people trying to tell us something.
absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. Well, and like I said, if you ever get a chance to see the video, I ended up capturing a photo. Didn't even realize it because, of course, I review the pictures after the investigations. I don't look at them as I take them. But we did get a very eerie photo. It was the first time in 12 years we've ever even gotten a photo like this. It looks like I guess a man or somebody outside looking into the kitchen area watching us. It's very clear. So it was very disturbing. There's just stuff out there. So I don't really know.
Where would we see the video? I mean, I
It's
know
on
you guys are friends, but no,
it's
I
on
mean,
it's on our YouTube channel. It's Dark Valley Paranormal.
All right.
Yeah, so we're still we have a lot of teams reaching out to us saying, hey, maybe you can take us. And I'm just really in mixed emotions on where, we don't like negative things. We don't deal with that kind of stuff.
same. Yeah.
I just prefer to stay away, but I have a lot of questions on why were we hearing the things that we were hearing? Why did we capture the things that we captured? It just seems like there's just too many questions that are still lingering.
Right.
So we're not sure whether or not we want to go back or want to be involved. And of course, this is my daughter, and she says, "No, we're not going back."
Though, it's just I feel like I need to be on a little mission here to figure out this bee thing and why both of us are on this podcast tonight talking about the same exact thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I said this is the first time I've ever joined in on a podcast. This is something my husband and I both been wanting to do. So again, I really wish he was here because he has so much light on his experience and his thoughts on it. He goes a little bit more into depth for sure.
Sure, we'll happily have you both back on.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Stephen Woodard is asking, are you with an investigation team?
My husband and myself, it's just us. So we're a husband and wife team. Well, every once in a while, of course, our daughter does come with us. I was going to say.
Shout out to the daughter.
Yeah.
But we are very careful. Depending on the location, because of her age, we are very careful. So she's not allowed to go with us all the time. But it's just something that we're trying to teach her. We don't ever want to be afraid of things, and we open her mind up to understand that there are other things out there.
Sure.
So of course there are places that we do take her. She did go with us the very first time. She did experience, unfortunately, I don't know what we heard, but at the very end of our first video of it, we actually heard a very loud man scream, like if he was in pain, towards the back of the house. And our dog.
Your dog is making an appearance.
Yes. So on our first video, that actually scared her.
Yeah.
She panicked a little bit. I think we all kind of got startled on what in the world was that.
Mm-hmm.
His scream was so loud. We left immediately. Having her, we were like, you know what? We're the only ones out here right now. It's late. Maybe it's not a good idea. So when we went back, we actually made sure we had another team with us, and then she didn't go back with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always best to be safe with family.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. We left right away. My husband's pretty protective about it, and when he was feeling antsy the way that he was, he's like, something's not right. We just need to go.
Yeah.
Yep. And just to let your daughter know, see, this is what happens when you say no to an investigation. You get X'd off the team.
Well, that's what my husband said. And she says, but no, I only said it that one night, so I'm really not retired.
Nice.
But we do love it. It's more of a passion for us. But this location here, like I said, I was listening to your story and everything, and I just felt that immediate connection and wondering and questioning, can this be related? Is it just a coincidence?
You know,
I
and
don't
that
know.
to me that piques my interest too. Even how similar the stories are,
Right.
and maybe it's something to do with the land that like I said, this being a convent in the hospital, that's considered sacred ground.
Absolutely.
You being in Arizona has multiple Native American sacred sites, so chances are you're close to or on one,
And
and
like you,
so
and
that
like
could be
you,
a
go ahead.
tie.
Like you had said that both locations don't have a lot of publicity historically.
They don't.
Mm-mm.
So it's like, what's hidden? Is there something purposely hidden, or is it just because nothing's been recorded? Or I mean, my questions just go up like crazy.
Yeah,
Oh
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Paula, Stephen wanted me to let you know that they're putting a new show on the network. So
Okay,
he may be reaching out to you.
sure.
And he wanted also to mention that he and his wife are a team, and I did actually get to meet them in person, and so did Carla. I believe
Yeah.
you were there that night.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, we love meeting new paranormal teams. We love sharing our experiences, and everybody has a different technique. People use different equipment. So
Sure.
to me, I just love the wide variety and just knowing that the passion's being shared with so many people.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And learning.
absolutely.
Well, I would definitely love to have my husband next time.
Yes.
For
Absolutely. All
sure.
three of you
I
are
feel lost
welcome.
that he's not
Yeah,
here.
for sure.
All
And
three or four of you.
Yes. Well, thank you guys so much. And
Yeah.
like I said, if you find out anything on your end, if there's a connection
I'll reach
somewhere,
out. I'll
yeah,
reach out.
please reach out. Send me a
Mhm.
message or
Yep.
let me know. And
Yep.
again, vice versa, because it's still something that I don't think that we're quite done researching.
I
We're
don't
just
think
kind of
so.
taking
I
a pause on it for a second.
it would
In
be
fact,
fascinating if we were able to uncover something.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. Excellent. I'm
Yes.
excited.
so to return the favor, Carla, I just sent you her Facebook page to your messenger.
Okay. If you don't mind, I'll send out a friend request and
Absolutely.
yeah.
That sounds
And
great.
does your dark alley
Dark
paranormal have
Alley.
its
I'm
dark
sorry, does it what?
does it
Dark
have its
Valley.
own page?
Yes, we have our own
Okay.
Facebook page, and then we have our YouTube page that we usually, when my husband's done editing his videos, we've got a couple other videos he doesn't have up right now. The Brand Canyon one was the most recent one we just did.
Okay.
So Paula, Stephen is saying that we're on the Paralinks network, and we actually just merged with Parapost Central Network.
Okay.
And so they're always welcoming new shows. So if you guys want to have a show like ours, you're more than welcome to come on the network.
That's awesome. Yeah, absolutely. I don't think my husband's going to say no to that. I don't think I will either.
And
Perfect.
Stephen wanted to share that, like, you're in Arizona, we're in Texas, he's
Right.
in New Mexico. So
Oh,
There
that's
you go.
awesome.
we're all over the place.
Yeah, we just cover everything. That would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many teams out here in Arizona. It's amazing. The teams that we've actually met. So I'm sure there would be so many other teams that would love to get involved.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I'm all about the para unity because
Yeah.
I feel like all the drama aside, we learn so much from each other, and everybody can go to, like, Carl and I, as an example, I've been there 3-4 times, never had a bee incident. She goes there once and has a bee incident.
It means something. That's
It
the way I look
does.
at it.
It does.
I don't think it's just a coincidence. I think it means something.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I'm kind of curious with when you were there experiencing it. Was it mainly females investigating? Were there
It was
mainly
half and half.
guys?
Oh, are you talking to me?
Talking to Paula.
Okay, sorry.
Well, she answered my same thing. It was half and half.
Well, that blows my
there
theory
was
that it
something
seems to be
up.
the women.
Yeah, there was 4 of us. It was myself and my husband, and then another husband and wife team, and they're from Haunted Encounter Adventures, and they live in the Tucson area, and they were with us. So again, it was half and half.
Yeah.
So that goes to show that it's not just women having the bee experience, unless none of the guys heard it.
Yeah.
No, our guys heard it.
Yeah, no, they did actually. I think see, and of course the guys on our side here, I think they took care of it. I'm not sure if it got away or if they were just afraid it was going to sting one of us and kind of, yeah,
Put it out of its misery.
gone. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So I'm gonna share something with you to your private messenger, Paula, from Steven is wanting me to share. It's a poster that showing what the networks are working on doing right now
Okay.
and what they're promoting. So I'm just gonna send that over to you real quick.
Okay. Perfect.
You should have it here as soon as I can spell your name. For some reason, it's making me spell your name. There it is. There you go. You should have it now.
Okay. Oh, yep. I just received it.
Ain't technology lovely when it works?
Absolutely. I agree. I was getting a little frustrated there for a minute, and I said, no, I think I got this.
Right on.
Yeah, and we were getting frustrated too because we were like comparing the links, and I was like, the link I sent her is the link I sent you.
Right.
So why did it work for her and not you?
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe it's because the show's been started. But then I was like, well, I've seen other people have people pop in and out.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, this is the first time. So even my daughter was just like, wait, Mom, did they just ask you to join? And I said, yes. So we're going to discuss this bee situation and kind of go from there.
Yep.
I'm
And
excited to learn more about the whole thing.
just to add a little more to the works, Steven says, I've heard the bee sound in my ear many times, indoors and outdoors.
Yeah, that bee's got to represent something.
Yeah, and apparently either I'm not susceptible to it or I just don't pay attention to it.
Right. Well, you know,
we
there's
just thought it was just annoying. Except for to me, I couldn't understand why there would be a bee awake bothering us at 2 a.m.
Right.
It just wasn't. You would think that they'd be asleep because I don't have bees now.
Yeah. See,
You know, that's
ours
an
was,
interesting question.
Yeah, absolutely. I think ours was maybe around 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and it was raining.
That's extremely rare that they would be out because
that's why
water doesn't allow them to fly.
I don't think it has anything to do with like pollinating flowers.
No. we actually have a picture of it. We actually did take a close-up picture of it because it looked very strange. It didn't look like a normal bee. It looked like a very rare bee. So that's why we took a picture of it. So we do have 2 photos of the bee.
Wow. So it must have landed on something, right?
It did. It stayed on our light up until we went into the house.
Oh, okay.
It was a ring light because, again, there's no electricity on the property at all.
There's no electricity there either.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Oh.
I know. That's exactly how I felt when I was listening to your story. I wish you could have seen me. I'm sitting here with my mouth dropped like, there's just no way. She's describing the same thing.
It's crazy.
I'm just sitting here like going, why can't I have the experience?
That's not fair.
Yeah, I'm like, I have nothing to add to this conversation. I have not had a bee occurrence.
Hey, you never know. You will someday, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Especially
if it
if I
represents
keep
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I keep investigating with Carla, I'm sure I'll run into bees and all kinds of stuff.
We have fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you again so much, you guys. I really do appreciate it.
It was nice meeting you.
You too. You guys have a great night.
You too.
Before you go, Paula, Stephen was pointing out he heard the bees, but there were no physical bees present.
See?
Oh, wow.
That's another thing is that it's like that sound of massive bees, and there was like one.
That's exactly, yeah. That's exactly what we experienced in the kitchen.
So loud.
The other investigator and I, we could hear it before we could see it. You can even hear it on our video.
Yes. That's
And
when
it's
we
like,
started.
what in the
That's
world
when
is that
everybody
noise?
started. After people kept getting to the point where maybe something wants us out of the chapel. So then we all left the chapel. We went in the hallway, and the bee seemed to stay back there. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, the bee shows back up, but it sounds like a swarm is coming from somewhere.
Yeah.
It didn't even have a direction. It was just loud.
See,
Yeah,
And then it's just like,
I don't think they wanted you to get back into that chapel.
No, it didn't sound like it.
I just think that it was done. They were like, it's almost 3 a.m. You guys have got to. We're
go.
tired of the incessant questioning and everything.
Sometimes the repeated questions just to clarify.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
You know, that is kind of funny. Why do we do that? Go to locations and always ask questions we know somebody else has asked there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, can you see the rolling of the eyes?
I think I just posted something on my Facebook too, where it shows like this ghost, and they have this facial expression, and they're saying, when you have a human come in and ask the same questions over and over and over, I'm just tired of it.
Yeah. I think I've seen that one.
Yeah. But we will go in there, especially like right now too. We're actually hosting Now Investigations, the original Pete Spence house in Tombstone.
Oh, nice.
And so, and now that we're going in there, we do notice that a lot of the questions are being repeated. We try to ask new questions, but they're new groups or new people that never heard the question. So it's good validating too.
Sure.
If we're getting the same answer all the time, to us, it's pretty validating.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Just wait till the day you come in, a new team comes in, you ask the question, like, really? Again? You're going to be like, yep, we reached the point.
Yeah,
gotta switch to the new questions.
Pretty soon the spirits are going to look at us like, are these residual people? It just keeps repeating itself over and over.
That, or they're going to look at us and go, do they have a limited vocabulary that they only have the same question?
We only have 50 words.
Yeah, that's it. The same ones.
That's right.
So, Paula, since you were nice enough to come on, how about you share anything that you got upcoming? Is there any investigations you're going to be going on, or any events you're going to?
Well, we did have a really big event we were supposed to go to in October, but I just don't think right now is the time for us to be able to make that one. I did get a hold of somebody tonight. I'm not going to say too much yet because we don't know. But she was very excited. I got a hold of her. It's a location. It's in Bisbee, Arizona. It's been abandoned for many, many years. There's a history to it. I want to say a lot more, but until I get confirmation, sure. They're going to see whether or not we have permission to enter. She was really excited. I reached out to her. So I'm supposed to find out tomorrow whether or not we're going to be able to enter. And if we do, that will be either this weekend or next weekend. So we're really excited on that one.
That's cool.
If we are able to do it, we'll probably post something in regards to the excitement of being able to go into the building.
Nice.
Cool. Any big Halloween plans?
Not yet. Not yet.
I like how she says that with a big grin.
Yes.
He's like,
we usually do.
She's like, I got 1,000 in here. Let me narrow it down first.
Well, I don't know if that's me saying that or my husband. We're kind of both the same. So it could be coming from either or.
Nice.
Yeah, and again, like I said, we do. We just now started hosting some investigations, either for other paranormal teams or individuals that want to come out and experience the place. It's the original Pete Spence house, and now it's a local shop, Friendly Flowers and More in Tombstone. So that's been pretty exciting. So we do that whenever we have a group that actually schedules a time.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah,
Well,
we do enjoy that.
if Carla and I, or if I get with my other teams and we're out your way, we may actually have to hit you up and be like, hey, where's the good places to go?
Absolutely. Oh, there's so much out here. We haven't even caught up to everything. So yeah, we would have a lot to share for sure.
Or it might even be, can we tag along?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, you think about it, all the places around here, other than Tombstone itself, it's got so much, but even Bisbee has just as much, if not more. So it's just an ongoing, nonstop, whether it's a building or land, or even part of the mountains.
Wow.
So many stories that we're still hearing, and so many buildings that we haven't even touched.
Yep. So Stephen wants me to ask you real quick before you go, have you heard of the Rose Tree Museum?
Yes, we've actually been in it. We've been in it several times. We bought, my husband bought his mother a clipping from the rose tree. You can actually buy clippings there. She went home and planted it, and I have never seen anything so beautiful. It's
Really?
all over the whole entire side of her home.
Wow.
The roses are I can't even explain how they look. So if you are ever there, you definitely have to go.
Amazing.
See, I gotta admit, that was the first time I ever heard of a rose tree. I've always heard of rose bushes, but never a tree of roses.
Yes, they actually say that it blooms for 2 weeks. The 2 weeks that they actually bloom, it will make the whole town of Tombstone smell like roses.
Oh, wow.
There's I believe, over 2 million that bloom on that tree.
Jeez.
It's incredible. It's
amazing.
Yeah, you definitely have to go.
So it really does cover an entire city block.
Well, I would say pretty close, because it's in the back of the house. The original house is the museum part itself. The very back is where the tree was planted, and it does cover the whole entire area of the back. So I would say that's pretty close.
Wow.
You know, and to me, it blows my mind that a tree is growing in Arizona that big, because we all assume it's all desert land.
No,
There's no lush.
it's different in this part of Arizona. Just 2 miles up the road. Actually, because we don't live very far from the Brown Canyon Ranch. We live just kind of up the road, but it's called Ramsey Canyon, and it almost looks like you're up in the forest. So there's a lot of greenery around this part of Arizona, along with your desert. So you get a little bit of both worlds.
So I wonder if Arizona's a lot like Texas, where we got all the ecosystems.
Yes, because they got like Payson and Flagstaff, and
Yes,
you're all up in the trees and the mountains, and the moose are running around,
And they got the Grand Canyon, so they got their water supply too.
right. Yeah, we love it where we live. We really do. And there's, like I said, there's Tombstone is what originally brought us here to begin with. We moved here about a year ago, and there's just so many places that's been untouched as far as the paranormal side for us. So our list is just ongoing, and it's going to take us a long time to be able to even venture off into those areas.
Yeah. Have you gotten to El Torvino, I think it's called, the hotel in the Grand Canyon?
No,
Oh,
we haven't even been to the Grand Canyon.
if you do go, you got to check out that hotel. I think it's El Torvino or something like that. But
Okay.
there's a painting in there that's at the middle of two staircases, and I think it's by the front desk. And it's a paranormal painting. And the fact that legend is the owner's eyes will follow you no matter where you go, because he's keeping an eye on his hotel. And
Oh, wow.
I went there and was using a cell phone to video it, and I swear it looks like every angle from the left to right going back, the eyes never stop staring at you.
That's incredible. I'll have to remember that. Like I said, our list is so long. I mean, we want to venture off to New Mexico. We want to venture off to more places in Arizona. So
Texas.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Texas. Absolutely.
Yeah, if you make it to our neck of the woods, we have some places we can take you to.
You're on the list.
Yay!
We're like number 275, but we're there. No, but the other thing too you can consider when you're going to New Mexico is hit up Steven, because I'm sure he knows some spots to check out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll have to reach out to him and make sure that he's connected on our Facebook pages and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, I think our little dog wants to be added on here.
No worries.
Aw.
Sorry about that.
Everybody's welcome. And Steven says, I got you in New Mexico.
Oh, awesome. That's perfect.
Yay.
We'll definitely reach out to him and make sure that we're all connected on Facebook. And
Yeah.
when we're able to venture off that way, we'll definitely think of you.
Definitely. Para-unity at its best right there.
Absolutely. We always say it's our para families.
Yep.
I love that. I say that too, para-family. I'll
Para-family.
sometimes get up and be like, good morning, para-family.
That's right. That's right.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we are approaching an hour and almost 50 minutes. So I think with it being a Tuesday night, I think everyone's getting a little tired. And
Yeah.
Time to call it a night.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, you guys. Well, again, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you again.
Yeah, thank you
We'll
for
stay in
coming on.
touch.
Yes, let's do that. You guys take care. Have a great
Okay.
night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow.
All right.
Pretty cool.
So we did have a guest after all.
We did.
And it turned out to be a really cool guest.
It was. All I can think of is now I have a whole bunch of homework.
And I can sit back and say, ha ha, I know.
Exactly. See what you get for you and your bees.
No, but that's interesting that he heard bees in New Mexico, didn't see any. You in Texas, she's in Arizona.
There's got to be a common thread somewhere in all that. It's just going to take some research.
Well, I can say offhand from history, I know it's the Southwest kind of area. Yeah. So that
I wonder if it's a universal thing.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking is it's universal, and it's like the Southwest is always associated with nature and the spiritual side of nature. That maybe that's why it's becoming more prevalent there.
Yeah.
And all over where you have that connection to the land, I'm wondering if people are starting to hear bees.
Yeah.
Something cool to think about. So, as we said, we are going to be calling it a night now.
Yeah. Well, we sure appreciate our viewers and listeners and everybody that stuck with us through the ramblings for a little bit, trying to spin up.
Yep. But we appreciate everyone telling us what a great show we were having. As you can tell, I'm getting tired, so I'm starting to flub up.
Fade. Yeah. All right.
All right. Well, have a great night, everyone. And remember, next week, we're going to be talking with Connie and Dan LaFave in Ballinger, Texas, owners of the Old Park Hotel.
Yep.
And we may have some surprises being mentioned. That's all I can say about that. But
Yeah.
so have a great night, everyone, and we'll see you on the next
See you
one.
next week. Bye.
Bye.